So your participation in this will be your willingness to be recorded. So I thank you for that, as I would really like you to continue to be here for our meeting. With that, can I get a motion to, or entertain a motion to start our meeting officially, please? You will move yourself.
Second.
Good. Chef Long and Chef Padamotsky for the second. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Anyone opposed? Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. If you could all join me, you are unmuted. I would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chef Geip, if you would, please, with the prayer.
For food, for raiment, for life, for opportunity, for friendship, for fellowship, we thank you, O Lord. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Let's see.
Right? Who's cooking? Who's delivering? All right. I'm going to move on then with our June mise en place. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I share my screen with our agenda, or I should say with our June mise en place. I have a question before we go any further. Let's see in the chat. Who can tell me who our student spotlight is? First one to answer just gets a kudos. There's not necessarily a, can't even find the chat anyways.
Was it Faith?
Hey. Yes, Faith, you should know. You wrote that. And Faith for writing, and I'll be honest, I cut and pasted it 100%. There was no editing, there was no, and hopefully you saw Jared also wrote a letter, a little note to the whole chapter, thanking the chapter, which I thought was really great. And wanted to make sure that you guys all got a chance to see that and read that from him. Second question to enter in the chat. What nut choice, including nut products from this, makes up 60% of all nut consumption?
Oh,
shit. Was so on it. Jeez. I do have.
Somebody said that already?
Yeah.
Answer.
Is it peanuts?
Peanut, yes.
Yes, correct. I was multitasking as our guest speaker here was emailing me or texting me as we were talking. So here's our mise en place. So it looks like a couple people read our newsletter, which is great. We have our student spotlight. We did send out that email here about a week or two ago to instructors. What Faith has done the last, at least this time too, is a personal interview, which I think is great. So even if it's a matter of just feeding her some names of students that she can reach out and contact, I think that would be great. Like I said, I do have his letter here. And the ingredient of the month. This is posted on the ACF website every month. This month coming up is tarragon, that I'll include for July. But there is a full article there, as well as on the ACF Online Learning Center. You can take a quiz and get 1 continuing education hour. So I already asked you 1 out of the 10 questions. So 10% already there. If you could answer that peanuts is the nut that comes to account for 67% of all the consumption. In any event, the rest of the information is all here. Was there any discussion, notes, anything anyone had on the newsletter?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second.
I'll second. Yeah.
So it's Chef Peffley, and was that Chef Long as a second?
Yes.
All those in favor to approve the minutes as written in the June mise en place, please vote by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, likewise. Motion will carry. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and bring up our treasurer's report for the month of July. Hopefully you can all view that all right. Here our total balance is $8,722.56. Our checking account is $1,975.73. That reflects 2 changes: the $600 paid for the insurance, of which the PRLA did discuss at their meeting, and thank you again, Brian, for thanking the PRLA for their partnership, and they are planning to reimburse us for that and send me a check to deposit back into our account. We also had ACF rebates. Great job to all of you that renewed your memberships. $42.75 came our way from those. Then continuing down, our savings account had an additional 45 cents added to it in our interest this month. I know you're all excited. $6,746.83 went into is our total for our savings account. I also received a bill from a website. It was for website work that was done back in February. I don't know if you remember, Doogie was mentioning that the website wasn't working properly. It needed to be reformatted. There is a bill outstanding for that of $82.50 that I plan on paying. So I wanted to import the chapter as well. Any discussion?
I move to accept the treasurer's report.
Thank you.
A second.
Second.
Was that Chef Reese for a second, I believe? Okay, all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please vote by saying aye.
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 Those opposed likewise? All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump into our president's meeting. Anna, may I ask that you reach out to, Anna, I hope you can hear me. So you reach out to Chef Krumlich and make sure that he can get into the meeting, okay? We all
Looks like he's on.
Zoom.
Oh yeah,
is he
he's
here?
coming in now.
Okay, good, good. Okay, good. So never mind. All right, I just didn't want to try and be sidetracked there. So I'm going to continue on with my president's message, just updating you on what seems like a ton of updates. Midway through each month, there seems to be new things that come out, and then we'll move on to our education presentation with Chef Barry Crumlett. So to start off, I did attend the webinar at 2 o'clock today with the PRLA to really hear about some of these new changes that are coming about, the new orders that came down. And it seems like the PRLA really was able to work well with the governor's office in getting a lot of these things, you know, what the green zone looked like versus what the yellow zone looked like. This order that came down July 15th, John Longstreet just basically wanted us to know that, you know, this was something that was just announced. It wasn't something that there was discussion about and that they could go back, you know, back and forth to collaborate on. Basic order is that it is a statewide order now that bar service is prohibited. If you haven't heard, bar service is prohibited, where you cannot go in just to order a beverage and stand at the bar anymore. You must order a meal in order to purchase alcohol. Apparently you can order one hot dog and then you can drink for as long as you want, as long as you ordered a meal. And what constitutes as a meal is a dish that is prepared on the premise and can constitute as a breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So chips, pretzels, popcorn doesn't cut it as far as a snack goes. It needs to be something that's prepared on premise and can be considered a meal. So now alcohol can only be served as a meal or still take out if they have the permits available. The main hit, it seems like, is the occupancy is down to now 25%, what your normal occupancy is. So on another call with the PRLA, Brian Daly was talking about how at Houlihan's, it went from 320 seats down to 80 seats. And that was just thinking of 25% capacity. The 25% also now includes staff members as well. And for any interior gathering, whether it be an event for a wedding or a large group going to a restaurant, 25 people is your maximum, which includes the staff as well for any indoor activities. So a maximum of 25 people, as well as you need to maintain that 25% maximum occupancy. Now for, let's say the Hilton having multiple different rooms, they can still have, you know, parties of 20 in those different rooms as long as those guests won't cross and they won't necessarily, again, reach that 25% overall capacity. So there's a lot of ins and outs, and Philadelphia has specific, more restrict guidelines of no indoor dining. That's going through August 1st at least. Allegheny County came up with more restrictions as well. Outdoor events are still being capped at 250 people. And again, outdoor guests must have a seat and they can consume alcohol at a portable bar as long as they're then going to go to their seat. And again, the event includes a meal. So those are changes that just came about in the last couple of days. It definitely, seemed to have a huge effect on our industry. So I wanted to make sure everyone was up to date with that. I do believe a few of you might have been on that call earlier today. I did have some other things, again, personally, I wanted to mention, other than my war with this groundhog, in case anyone didn't hear. I'm battling the groundhog in my garden, but I'm enjoying the sun and the extra time at home, but I'm still working 7 days a week. I have 3 online classes. Our spring classes just came back. So we are making up all of our different classes here, and it's hands-on. The students are excited to be back in the kitchen. No, nobody wants to wear a mask, but they know it's for their own safety, and it really seems to benefit. Everyone's very excited and getting pumped. You can tell this is what they wanted to do. Our class sizes are under 10 students. Everyone has their own station, their own coolers, their own equipment to work with, including like the ranges and ovens, as well as smallware. So we pool all ingredients, we screen every student. It is a process, but it seems very well worth it. So I'm glad that we're able to do that. And then we're restructuring the fall into new classes. So building those, supporting all the faculty and doing that, as well as registration. And like I said, it keeps running around the clock here. On my end. But to take on to some more information, I did include an email for you and for Chef Stafford Dick Cambro's resignation, and hopefully you had all seen that email. I also wanted to draw your attention here too, that today on Facebook, it was posted. You can all see my screen here. American Culinary Federation did post a video that he created, and I definitely encourage all of you to watch it. It's about 7 minutes long, but in a nutshell, to let you know, in this video, his initial email that I had sent out said his resignation was going to be effective August 31st. In this video, he announced that he was asked for his resignation to be effective as of tomorrow, which is July 21st. So I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of that change. And that this video is out there if you would like to see it. And this is just on our ACF chapter page. Again, it was posted on the American Culinary Federation first. Yeah. Okay, to move on, from the Northeast Regional Conference call, I did gain some more insight and more information to share. Our ACF virtual convention, again, is August 3rd through the 5th. At this point, they have 575 registrants. Which I was really, really shocked. I think that's extremely low for the free opportunity this is, of 3 full days of all of these different things that are available, these different conferences and webinars. And it really surprises me nationally that only 575 people have registered so far. So there's still plenty of free opportunities available for anyone looking for their continuing education hours. There is 24 that are available if you select that path. I did want to let you know too, they are all being pre-recorded. However, in that pre-recording, they're going to roll out live. So if something is to come out, Jacques Pepin is going to be at 9 o'clock on August 3rd. At 9 o'clock, that's when that video will start. At 10 o'clock on, it will be available on the website on the ACF Learning Portal for you to view, which is, again, another phenomenal opportunity. How many of us have been at one conference, but wanted to catch 1 or 2 of the other ones? So now we get to view all of them. We're just waiting until they actually close. And a benefit, why then watch live? A great benefit is that the presenters are going to be live. Most of them will be live in the chat. So you can ask questions as their video is going on, and they could be answering and interacting with you, which I think is a cool aspect. I think that was just rolled out the other night, so not everyone necessarily knows that. As I mentioned before, August 6th, I will be attending the Board of Governors meeting. August 7th, there's a virtual awards ceremony as well, scheduled at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where a lot of the awards will be given out. But the Chef Professionalism Award will be held until the following Monday and released on a virtual platform. Okay, all other awards will be given then on August 7th. The ACF Chef's Table is up and running. Hopefully you've seen emails. Well, I have personally sent emails, so hopefully you have seen them. At this point, the portal is over exceeding expectations. In just the first 2 weeks, they had 28 different topics and 178 different replies. It's right now an open forum, but they're looking to develop more forums to where a competitions forum. So anyone to just discuss competitions can be in there. even to have chapter forums so that we can have our own chapter forum within this. And again, if you're not familiar, if you haven't seen my emails, this is a social online community just for ACF members to connect. And there's definitely been a lot of posts, and one of which I want to discuss later on within our new business. Membership was also discussed, and I encourage all of you to renew your memberships if you haven't, if they have lapsed and they've extended them till August 31st. That's what that whole 4275 is from. But mainly just the idea that we're trying to support all of the different students and different programs throughout. At this point, 25% of those memberships that were extended were renewed, which is pretty low, but at the same time, they're extended through August 31st. I'm really excited to announce too that they are coming up with a new payment option in the next couple months, to where now you can pay monthly. You can auto renew each year. You can choose to pay quarterly, by yearly, however you want to break it down. If it's every 2 months is best for you. But they're working on that portal and maybe saving some money of not sending out new membership cards every year instead of us swapping them out of our wallets. But so new changes coming in membership there. And then certification, we do have a very specific contact now. So Bob, I know that was one question that you had, Kiwi Hermans. Hopefully you have been in contact or have heard her name, but she is now the one that is really seems to be heading up the certifications and is a great contact to be or to have directly. And then at the end, the meeting really ended with the idea of chapter collaboration and how a lot of chapters are looking to collaborate, not just for webinars, but also future meetings, which is great to have another chef here. And that's something I want to talk about in the future as to how much you're willing for us to open up our meetings. I really on that call wanted to jump in and say, oh, everybody join our meeting. Yet at the same time, we discuss our individual, chapter business. And I want to make sure that's something you are all comfortable with before I, shout it to the rooftop, please. We always say that it's welcome to and open to everyone. It's just, are we really broadcasting that nationally right now? I don't think so, but I'm happy to. And I think, our presenters would need to know that. And I want to talk about that and bring that up in new business here at the end of the meeting. All right, with that, I also have Heidi Howard joining us a little later to update us on the PRLA. I joined, like I said, that conversation. And really the idea of, the new guidelines and how there are still so many restaurants not wearing masks, not requiring their customers to wear masks, their employees are not wearing masks, how, it would just seem like there wasn't really any recourse at this point, and had a lot of chefs and restaurant owners definitely frustrated and looking for, different things to be reinforced here. But this was right as we were getting all these new guidelines, so it was a little premature to what all came. We also have today, I'm excited to hear more about the Chili Bowl competition that Chef Geip will be mentioning. And just to recap that I did talk to Maria Hewlett about the breakfast on the farm. The date changed, but I told her that event, we had already discussed, and that was a no-go on our end, which she was very understanding and open about. Real quick to sidetrack Brian, I know Heidi's on vacation, but she still said she was going to jump in at about 7:45, 8 o'clock to Zoom.
Charlie's going to speak on her behalf. She emailed Charlie and I. So Charlie
Today?
has the information,
Okay.
yes, today.
Okay.
So Charlie's going to speak on her behalf.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Before I move on to, I just wanted to make sure, Chef Young, you were with us last meeting too, and I know you had to go before. I had an opportunity to see if you had anything you wanted to add. I know I just recapped the majority of your conference call, but was there anything else you would like to add?
You covered it greatly. The only thing, as of right now, we are still go for Nashville for October 22nd. I think it's 26th to the 28th. I have my notes written wrong. But that's still go in Nashville with Academy dinner. And we're looking at Pittsburgh for March of next year. We're still waiting on a lot of details coming from those cities right now. So, but everything is go at this point. So those would be the only things I would want to bring up at the moment. And thanks for all the support for everything. And if anybody needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out or email me. I will get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so not to confuse now, but I have another Chef Barry, but Chef Barry joining us from the Pennsylvania Governor's residence. Just a little intro here as I get you unmuted, Chef. We, in 2018, Chef had come to the Culinary and Pastry Arts Club at Hack and did a presentation on bees and, you know, harvesting honey, and he talked about it, but the students were hooked and they really wanted to get immediately in there and see, you know, what's involved. He invited us for a tour. We were excited to take a tour, but the students got even more than that. They got to actually participate in the honey harvest. We're actually scraping off that. Well, I'll let him tell you, and there's pictures, so I don't want to necessarily give it away, but Anna, who is now our education committee chair, is definitely very much interested in this and reached out to Chef. So Chef, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to join everyone this evening. You know,
and Chef, I just asked you if you could start the video, start your video. I can't see you, but I can hear you. Okay.
There I am. So once again, you know, it's a pleasure to join everyone this evening. I've had the great pleasure of learning about the bees over the past 9 years now that we've had them on property at the governor's residence. 9 years ago, first year of the Governor Corbett and Mrs. Corbett's administration, we were approached about bringing 2 working beehives onto the property. And, you know, it was a win-win for us. We had local beekeepers that were coming in and actually maintaining the hives for us, supporting us educationally, and we would also get the benefit of, you know, whatever honey we harvested was ours to utilize, however we chose. So, you know, over the 9 years, I've had, you know, once again, the ability to learn quite a bit. I still have a lot to learn about bees. They're very fascinating little creatures, very intricate in how the hive works. So I'm going to go through pretty much the stages of, one, how the hive works, the life cycle of the bees, and then I'll get into more of the harvesting aspect of what we do at the end of each season.
Chef, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We can only see the top half of your head. Just in case you're using your hands, showing us anything. Thank you.
No, actually, I don't have any visual on this end. I was just going to be speaking through. I know Anna had put a few photo clips together that I think she
didn't know if you wanted to show the video or the pictures that I put together while he's talking, or.
I can, sure thing.
So basically what, once again, I'm going to do is take you through what makes up the hive, the life cycle of the bees, and then the harvesting aspect. So the bottom 2 boxes of a beehive is known as the brood boxes. And basically each brood box contains 10 to 12 frames. And within that brood box, that is where all the life action of the bees sort of unfolds. That's where the queen will be for her entire life cycle. That's where all the drone bees will maintain taking care of the queen. And that's where the queen will also lay the eggs that hatch into the adult bees. So, you know, when the queen starts to lay her eggs within that area, the drone bees, which are the male bees, and I'll explain a little bit further as I go along, their whole thing is they take care of the queen. So they stay within that brood box the entire time. So then the bees themselves within the brood box can store up to 100 pounds of honey to 150 pounds of honey. That is their food source. And, you know, they will stockpile that honey and feed off of it through the warm season, but that is primarily stocked for their winter consumption and for them to maintain, hopefully, life through the winter season. And then the bees at that point, will start, once they have that area of the frames filled with honey, they will then start stockpiling for what we will end up harvesting at a later date at the end of the season. So once you move up through the brood box, you then have what we call supers that we will add on. And before you put the super one, you have what's called a queen excluder that you put in place, which is basically a mesh wire frame that will not allow that queen to go up into the supers. And the reason for that is if the queen were to go up into the supers where you are now trying to store honey for harvest, she will continue laying eggs up through there. That's something you want to refrain from happening, because then that honey is then no longer viable to harvest for consumption. So you continue adding supers on depending on how well the hive is doing through the season. Each super, once again, has anywhere from 10 to 12 frames, depending on the size of the box. We have gone to the point of actually having 4 to 5 supers on each hive. That's actually, probably the most you'll see on one given hive if it's really healthy. Each super will hold anywhere from 30, 40 pounds, sometimes a little bit more. So you continue adding those as they fill up and you're checking them through the season. You'll continue adding those supers on to allow them more space to continue stockpiling. One of the things that tends to happen, usually once a season, possibly twice, you'll have what's called a swarm take place. And what a swarm is, it'll happen for one of 2 reasons. One, either the original queen in the hive is starting to age towards the end of her life cycle, or the worker bees, for whatever reason, have chosen to raise a new queen and push the old queen out. And they sort of look at this as being a Mother's Nature's way of thinning the hive if it's too full. So when a swarm will actually start to take place, you'll see a mass exit of half of the bees that are in the hive leave and follow the old queen because of being loyal to her. The other half typically will stay with the new queen that was raised. And it's sort of really fascinating to see this unfold, because when they all exit the hive, it becomes to be like a cyclone of bees. And you're talking, one healthy hive is average of 60 to 80,000 bees. So you're going to have somewhere in the approximate count of 30 to 40,000 bees leaving that hive at one time. And they'll cyclone up and they will follow that queen to wherever she chooses her new home to be, which typically is high up in a tree somewhere close to the property. And then they will settle in there. The neat thing with when they swarm, you can actually capture that swarm and start a new hive from it, depending on how healthy that queen is. We've seen, once again, we've had, some seasons where we've had 2, sometimes 3 swarms happen, and we've been able to start new starter hives from those swarms then. So, and the one thing that, was the biggest question, with us being open for public tours, if a swarm were to happen, we, of course, are concerned with the public safety being in and around, 30 to 40,000 bees. And they are actually at their most calmest state at that point in time, because they know usually a day or 2 before that swarm's going to unfold, and they tend to feed real heavy just in case they don't have a food source for several days. So I've actually, with the beekeeper, I've stood right in the middle of swarm, and they just move around you and go about their business, and don't really want to harm you in any way. So it's a really, really cool experience seeing this unfold. So once they've settled, they're usually pretty easy to capture. We had one instance where one of our swarms landed low on the ground, and Luke, our beekeeper, I had called him and made him aware of it, and he had come in, and there was a little bit of honey in what he calls his nuke box, which is what you start a new hive from. He brought that in, and the queen caught the scent of the honey. She crawled in the box shortly after he had opened it, and there was just this trail of 40,000 bees crawling into the hive right behind her, and just very fascinating in that instance. So, so as far as the life cycle of a bee, there's 3 bees in a hive. The queen being the only fertile female bee within the hive that can lay eggs. She is also the largest bee in any given hive. She'll lay approximately anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 eggs in one given day. Sometimes you'll have some queens that are a little lazier and won't produce as many eggs. So once those eggs are laid within the honeycomb, they look like small specks of white rice, and you can sort of look. The other thing that we have on the property is 2 observation hives with glass fronts, so we we're able to look and see just all the inner workings of the hive, and you can look in and see these little specks of what looks to be rice, which is the larva. And once they're laid, the worker bees will then cover the comb with a little bit of a paper film, and it'll take 21 days from the time they're laid to the time they are a mature adult bee. The queen lives average lifespan of 3 to 5 years. She's the only bee within the hive that'll live that length of a lifespan. And her sole purpose is, once again, to lay eggs and nothing more. The way a queen is actually raised is the worker bees will choose a larva and will feed it what is called royal jelly, which is a secretion that they secrete from 8 glands that is located within their abdomen, and they feed that larvae that royal jelly the entire time, which will then form it into a queen bee in the adult stage. The second bee that is in the hive is the drone bees. The drone bees are the males. They are, once again, they are for the sole purpose of fertilizing the queen's eggs and taking care of the queen. They're the second largest bee within the hive. They are the only bee in the hive that does not have a stinger, because they do not leave the hive, so they have no reason to have that defense need. So they will stay within the hive, take care of the queen, and they live approximately 1 year, and then they will die off. The third bee in the hive is the workers, and it is the heaviest population of the bees in the hive. They are all female, and they their sole job is comprised of many different things. They take care of the larvae. They clean the hives. They go out and source the food and water that they bring back, the nectar, the pollen, amongst many other things within the hive. With the worker bees, they have the shortest lifespan of all. They only live 6 to 8 weeks and pretty much die from exhaustion. So a worker bee that goes out to forage for nectar, pollen, water will fly approximately the distance of traveling 8 times around the world. They'll visit close to 2 million flowers to produce 1 teaspoon of honey. So basically, they fly nonstop when they're out foraging and eventually just exhaust themselves to the point of death. So it's pretty crazy, how they interwork together. Their communication skills are phenomenal for being an insect. One thing that they will do for communicating is they will do what's called a waggle dance, where they'll come into the hive. They're like the first flight of the morning, X amount of those bees are out in reconnaissance of food and water. They'll return to the hive and they will come in and do like a figure 8 motion and movement and waggle their bodies. And that is telling the other bees how far they have to fly, what direction they have to fly, and where the food and water source is. Pretty fascinating that they can communicate in that manner to let the other bees know this is where they need to go for that food source for the day. So the biggest thing also, with the bees, and a lot of people don't realize just what impact they have on our human existence. Bees impact 70% of the world's agriculture crops with cross-pollination. And that's why it is such a huge concern at this point in time with all the hive collapse that they're seeing with all the honeybees. Because if we lose every last bee on this earth, we're losing our food source as well. So it's become to be a very critical thing for us to figure out, just the reasons behind it. The biggest is pesticides and various mites and beetles that will infest the hives. But pesticides being the forefront, and we need to go more in a organic farming direction where we're using, natural means of farming or less invasive pesticides that don't impact them as much. So, yes, moving on, as far as the honey harvest, as Chef Autumn had mentioned, we had the pleasure of having the HEC culinary students over 2 years ago. And it was the first time actually that we had a group in to do the harvest. So it was a lot of fun to bring them in and see, their view of what we do, with harvesting the honey. And there's several steps to getting prepped and ready for the harvest at the end of the season. And what will happen is, our beekeepers will come in and they will actually evacuate the hives. And when they first did this and I saw what they did, I was very taken back. They actually take a leaf blower and they just blow a lot of wind up in through the entrance of the hive, and it forces the bees to leave at that point in time. And at that time, they will remove the supers rather quickly, because they will come back. And if you're raiding their honey, they get rather upset. And so we'll take and remove all the supers. Typically, we'll either put them in the walk-in in case there's a few bees left that did not leave, or we'll put them inside. In our case, we'll throw them in the hot box in the kitchen, seal them off until the following day when we're getting ready to actually start harvesting the honey. So to harvest the honey, there's a couple of pieces of equipment. You can, if you're a smaller novice beekeeper, you can use what's called a hand spinner that'll hold anywhere from 6 to 8 frames at a time. Or if you're producing a lot more honey, in the case of our beekeeper, Tristan, he'll produce anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pounds a year. He has an automated spinner that'll hold up to 18 frames at a time. So when we bring the frames in, we take what's called a hot knife, and it's basically a dull-bladed knife that is double-sided, and it has an extension cord attached to it that heats the blade. And you just basically are skimming off that top wax layer off of the comb. And when we do this, we'll do this over a heated tank that has a little bit of water in the bottom that sort of creates like a double boiler, and it'll slowly warm that honey enough that drips down in, that we can also utilize that honey after we put the frames in to being spun out. So the key thing to watch when you're harvesting, though, you want to make sure that the honey is actually capped off, because if it's not capped, it's not at the right moisture content. When the bees bring in the nectar and pollen that they have collected, the moisture content at that point is anywhere from 85 to 90% moisture content. The bees over the course of the summer will fan that honey and bring it down to 17.5% moisture content before they will actually wax coat it and seal it off. They know when it gets to that point, and at that point in time, that honey is no longer viable to grow any type of bacteria. It will not go bad at that point. If it's over, if you get in that 18% range, you can cook it down a little further to bring the moisture content down. But if it's anything over 19% and above, if you harvest it and you jar it, you're going to have bacteria growing over a period of time and cause illness from it. There's recorded record that they have found vats of honey at the bottom of an Egyptian tomb that was 2,000 years old, totally sealed, and took it to a lab, tested it, and it was edible still at that point in time. So it's astounding to see that something that an insect is producing can last 2,000 years and still be edible. So at this point, if anybody wants to join in for any questions that I might be able to answer, I'd be happy to.
Jeff, I do have, I know you had mentioned, what about the flavors in the honey? Not all honey is the same. How does the honey develop different flavors in it?
As far as flavors, it's all in what they're foraging. In our case, the bees tend to be attracted to the wildflowers on the islands located on our stretch of the river, you can actually watch their flight paths to and from the river each day. And typically, you know, once they find a good food source, they will continue going to that food source until they exhaust it. But once again, if they're feeding mostly on clover, you're going to have that clover honey flavor. If your hives are located, you know, near a citrus farm and they're pollinating, you know, lemon, orange trees, they're going to have more of a citrus tone to it. I deal with a local lavender farm up in Pine Grove, and the owner has several hives on the farm, and you can truly taste the pronounced flavor of lavender in his honey that he has brought down to me. So once again, it's all in what they're foraging from. It can change from year to year. We have seen one year where our honey is a real light amber color, and then the following year it is as deep almost to a darker maple syrup. So, you know, there's no real known reason of why the variation of color is other than whatever they're foraging.
And there's a question in the chat, can a worker bee get kicked out of the hive?
Can a worker bee? Typically, no. The only one that really gets ousted out of the hive is the queen at some point. Whether, you know, once again, she's aging out, or they just, for whatever reason, chose to raise a new queen because the hive was getting overpopulated and they felt the need to thin it. So they'll raise that new queen to sort of force a swarm to happen.
And there's a certain way to indicate what the queen is, right?
Yeah, once again, her size. That is the biggest point. Now, in our observation hives, what we tend to do, each year we have to start the observation hives from scratch. They only hold a total of 8 frames in each hive. We have 2 of them side by side. And so what we'll do is we'll order what's called a mark package, where they'll actually take just a little bit of fingernail polish and they will put a little dot on the back of the queen's head. So it's easier for people to pick her out. Because a lot of times, you know, in a case of an observation hive, when you have the covers off at the front of the glass that we use to darken them, whenever we're not having tours come through, she's going to stay to the back of the hive. She likes to be more in the dark. Very seldom, you know, does she come to the front unless it's right when we open, you know, and take the covers off before the tours come in. You know, you'll usually catch her out at that point in time. The neat thing too that we've seen with the observation hives, when a bee first matures, they'll do what's called a maiden flight or an orientation flight. And they'll leave the hive and they'll come back to that same hive. Not one time will they ever go into another hive that they were not born in. They pick up a sense of the pheromones that those bees are putting off from where they were hatched. And with our observation hives, we have clear plexiglass tubing coming into the entranceways for the people to see them actually coming in with the pollen, and they never cross over. Those 2 observation hives are side by side, and you know, they never cross over to the opposite hives. So
we have a couple more questions. I have this as well. How much honey do your hives produce yearly? Okay,
a good healthy hive can produce anywhere from 150 to 200 pounds on average. Last year, well, this past year, we harvested 135 pounds. That has been our best harvest in the 9 years. The year before, we got about 115 when the Hack Culinary Program was there. Years before that, we were averaging between 30 to 50 pounds of honey. For some reason, the past 2 years have really gone well with us. I'm excited to see what this year brings, but our bees are actually in COVID quarantine, if you want to say it. They're at our beekeeper's house just for ease of him taking care of them right now and gaining access to the property because we're not there on a full-time status at the moment.
And many of us have benefited from this honey, so thank you. I know my students definitely have at the farm show, and Chef Daco specifically wanted to thank you as well for sharing with her students at the farm show. Her question is, what kinds of things do you use the honey for at the governor's residence?
I use it in various ways of cooking, salad dressings, desserts. Big majority of it, though, is I like to share it with everyone. Because it is something neat that a lot of people wouldn't expect coming from the governor's residence, having your own hives and producing your own honey. So I would say probably 75% of it is given away as token gifts. The First Lady, if she has, some smaller ladies' luncheons or she's going to a small event, I try to make sure I send some with her, if she wants to take it along for a nice little token gift to share. So.
Okay, great. Well, if anyone else has any questions, I know the chat's been open here. Does anyone else want to pipe in with a question? I'll wait the Zoom. Oh, Chef.
Yeah, Chef.
Yes.
Question for you. How has COVID affected your business at the residence, and how are you adapting to that?
Currently, I just returned to full-time work at the residence this past week. We were shut down starting March 16th. We were off for about two weeks. And then we, being essential employees, we were called back to do warehouse work. The entire time we were shut down, helping with PEMA send out medical supplies. So moving forward, it's going to be a very slow reentry, very minimal small events. And when I say small, nothing probably over 10 people to 20 people. All of our large events have been postponed until 2021 at this point.
Thank you, Chef.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any other questions, comments? Seeing no one scrambling for the unmute button. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Chef. I really appreciate you joining us tonight and educating us on bees. You can tell you've been doing it for a while and definitely have a passion for it. So I thank you very much. Definitely.
Well, thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure.
Great. And feel free to hang out if you want to hear about what all we're doing. But I understand if Monday night at 8 o'clock, you know.
Yeah, I'm probably going to scoot out of here. I got a few other things to attend to on the work I need to get this evening.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you again. I appreciate it. And I want to go ahead and share these pictures a little bit more on Facebook, just as a thank you as well.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Have a great night. Thank you.
You guys do the same.
Thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to the Education Committee. Anna, do you have any updates for us?
I reached out for the next meeting. I reached out to a vinegar maker, local Keepwell, I believe it's called. I haven't heard back from them yet. If I can't get a hold of them, I'm going to try the vinegar store down in Carlisle, if one of them would like to speak on how to make vinegar for the next meeting.
And I did, I don't know how I missed this in the president's message, but I did discuss with the board, and especially with these new guidelines, we decided to move forward with August meeting being via Zoom. I think at this point, again, with a 25-person restriction, I would always hope there would be more than 25 of us that would want to get together. So I've already contacted Chef Ben Beaver and let him know, but still invited him to maybe do a presentation on the fermentation and cooking with beers that I think vinegar is great with.
Definitely when it's at a brewery, you're going to have a big attendance.
Right? And
Yes.
again, if it's only 25 plus their employees, like, you know, that may not be the best move on our part to ask for that.
We can always do it outside in the parking lot. We can bring our own chairs and bring, you know, you can cook. I'm okay with that. He's got plenty of room in the back. Plenty of room.
Tailgate.
Tailgate.
No motions for that. Okay, so thank you.
No motions?
I didn't hear. I listened. No one unmuted. So moving forward, at least for August. So again, all meetings are going to be as to, you know, I know we want to get together and there's some things we want to share in person, but for now, we'll continue via Zoom in August. And then Anna, thank you for putting that together. I know you're still working on education page and we're still getting that. Any other updates you have for us?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on, I don't believe Chef Nodder is on. I know she just moved.
She's probably still unpacking.
She probably
Probably.
is. Maybe she didn't get her computer just yet. All right. Well, I know for the competition's sake, on the Northeast Regional call, again, that direct contact is Kivi Hermans, Kivi Hermans, and her direct email is khermans@acfchefs.net. She did mention that there's not a whole lot of testing sites available. Certification, or I'm sorry, competition testing is just not really happening right now. So I'm sure Susan would not have any updates to that effect. But Chef Geip, I know you're here with your chili bowl. I'm excited to hear more about that. I really want to share a picture, if you don't mind, if that's okay. It was one of the pictures I sent to you today or yesterday. You can go ahead a while. I'll find it here.
All right. So hopefully there are some students on board here or educators that can pass this along to them. We've tried to come up with something a little different and make it challenging for them. Opportunity for them, if you read through the criteria for this competition, it's pretty neat. I mean, you know, they have to come up with, first of all, a name, and then all their particular information. They'll have to come up with the recipe and a list of ingredients, and then cost it too. And not only come up with a recipe and show the chili in different ways, but also give it a cost. So obviously that's part of what we do. You know, you can make everything wonderful if you're spending $18 for a cup of chili, you know, but the game plan is to make it so that it is cost effective. And Dawson Flinchball from Flinchies, and some of us who do the chili circuit know him very well as Chief Chili, is going to be my, we are going to co-judge it, and some of the awards that are being given out, but he's actually going to put the winning bowl of chili on the menu as a special for a week, and we'll get some great PR out of that. He also he runs one of the state competitions for the International Chili Society, and whoever the winner is will be on the finals table with Chef myself and Dawson. So it's a great experience. Plus, our buddy at Laser Leaf we're working on some really neat awards for the 3 winners, and then we have a special award too. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. So that's going to be a surprise. So everything's on the website, and if you read down through there, I've been in touch with the vocational teachers in the area and a bunch of other instructors. I would hope that we have, you know, I'd love to see 10 entries. Any questions?
Where's the proceeds for the Dawson's Chili cook-off goes? I mean, when he sells them in the restaurant, is he going to give the money to charity, or is he going to give the money to us, or is he going to keep all the profit?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to ask you.
They should do 50-50 or something.
No, in Dawson, he'll make sure we get something out of it.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds great, Chef. Thank you. I have had 2 students personally inquire a little bit more. And the one question I did get, I wanted to pass on was, because color is a factor in there as one of the criteria, does it have to be a classical chili or can a white chili?
That's why I left it open. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Texas chili where there's no beans, no filler, no rice, no pasta. It could be anything, you know. I did one of these in York for a school district, and the winner was a crab chili. And it was amazing. And it had the most eeriest gray color to it, but but they garnished it really neat. It was really amazing, and flavor was spot on. It was really neat. So it's up to their imagination. They can do whatever they want. I had someone ask me if a scrapple chili would be okay. Chef Coral and I would eat it. I know that, but I'm not sure about anybody else. So.
And you're the challenge of judging this without actually tasting it, right? And that's the idea.
Correct.
Write down exactly, you know, your steps and take pictures. Great.
Yeah, the criteria is, and you know, to show the pot cooking, to show the finished product, you know, to show the finished product garnished, and also any other pictures they want to send that will enhance their chance of winning. You know, and I think I asked for the mise en place to be put on a cutting board to show what exactly is there, so that we know what's going into this. And also their telephone number is part of the registration. If we have any questions, we're gonna call. You know, we want to make sure that everybody gets a fair shake at this. And Dawson and I have been judging chilies for, I don't know, I had hair back then, so it was a while ago, you know, 35, 40 years maybe. So.
Great. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Also, John Gross is going to most graciously add a chili pot for the winner, the first place winner. So he has a nice pot in mind. So, and then the opportunity for them to cook a batch of their chili, and plus a $25 gift certificate for them to purchase the ingredients to bring to a meeting and let everybody taste it.
Which will happen one of these days.
I told him, I said, I hope it's, you know, somebody that doesn't, you know, it's not in college. It might be till they graduate until we get this COVID stuff going. But better we do a takeout, you know, a drive-through tasting some night. Maybe that might be an idea, you know.
Curbside pickup.
Yeah.
Or just even for our meetings, yeah, like have someone go ahead and pick it up so we can all share at the same time. And you're going to announce the winner at the next meeting in August.
Correct.
Great. Any other questions, comments? See no frantic unmuting. Okay.
So.
All right. We'll move on then. Social media committee. I do not see Renee on. Feel free to pipe in if I'm incorrect, but I do not see Renee. I know our social media is doing well as far as, you know, again, we've had at least one over 1,000 engagements, and we have a couple more. It seems like our meeting posts are what everyone's sharing the most. And this time I did it a little differently and invited some of you. I think just showing that some are going definitely created some buzz there too. I think just that post got over 900 engagements, which was pretty awesome. So I know she's doing the different pages and working on that. I have also piped in with some information as well to make sure that we're well covered. So thank you for anyone that's sending information to her, and please continue to do so. Her email and cell phone number are in the newsletter. That way you can text her information or pictures. Again, she's looking for as many pictures as we can have as well. All right, we'll go ahead and move on then to student outreach. Faith, I know I saw you on.
Yep, I'm here. So I had the privilege of meeting with Jared via Zoom, and let me tell you, I enjoyed every single second of it. There was never a dull moment, and he truly deserved this recognition for our student spotlight. And as a fellow culinarian, I'm very proud to call him a colleague of mine. And unfortunately, today is his actual moving date So he couldn't be here, but in his letter he wanted to give that little shout out to everyone and a thank you. And he says he'll reach back out to me or the chapter just to give an update on how he's doing up in the Patterson Club. But the survey that had Chef Patty sent out, I have no intentions of closing that. I'm going to keep that open. I do have some submissions for our next mise en place. So thank you to the instructors that sent that in. But for everyone else, please, if you have another student or students you wish to nominate, please fill out that survey. And I will start getting them organized and putting the templates so we can get them in the newsletter.
That's awesome, Faith. I'm very excited that you already have more coming out or coming down the pike here. And I think your interaction with everyone, you representing, the students really well in your writing, knowing that you were able to speak to them, and again, just hearing your enthusiasm. And Jared can join every single meeting via Zoom. Susan Knotters in Alabama, Stephen Liu is in Alaska. Our members are reaching out, and we're hoping to include more. So by all means, he can still be a part from, afar. We're all afar right now. Thank you, Faith. Any other updates that you have on the student outreach?
That is it for now, but I am helping Chef Geip with the chili bowl. So if anyone has any questions or how to reach him, just again feel free to contact me.
Great, thank you. I see Chef Coral is on and Chef Peffley. Any updates on the apprentices?
Mute myself. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been having class, since the end of May. We were working with the apprentices and continuing with their 440 hours that we have at school. And unfortunately, they got called back to work the weekend of the 4th and had work for about almost 2 weeks, and now it's down to nothing again. So that's the struggling part for them. And it's hard to keep them going, because they're always looking for something. And Connor, our one apprentice, had just gone through some surgery, and he's now healed up enough. He wants to get back in the saddle, and there's nothing to get back into right now. I was fortunate enough today to talk to Chef Arnold. He told me that he apologizes. He would have been here, but he had another engagement tonight to do. So you can expect him in the future to be there. And he was expressing his concern as well with the apprentices not, fulfilling their 4,000 hours. So that's where the struggle is for Brian and I right now. Are we going to be able to get these students their 4,000 contact hours, and what the ACF is going to grandfather them? They talked about that early on. This was back the end of March. They talked about that, but I haven't heard anything since. So we're still waiting to hear if they're going to, do anything in that area. But still, we had been pushing everything back. Thought maybe the beginning of November we could do the testing for the senior apprentices. But if things continue the way they are right now, that might even get pushed back into the new year. And unfortunately, you have to work within the union rules within HE&R, and there's people that are above them that get called back before them. So those are the other issues that we have to deal with right now. So, but other than that, they're all seem pretty good, and we're looking forward to getting together. And I think once we do get back together and we can have class at the CTC in person, those hours are going to be used just for in the kitchen hours, for things that they can't really get to do when they're up at the hotel, the lodge, or the country club. So we'll be banging those things out. So we're pretty much going to have all of the academic part done by the time that they get back in with us. So we're pretty confident about that. But we did have Jared, as we were talking about Jared. He did complete the written test. That was right after our last meeting, and we were very nervous about it going off because it took us over a year to get this thing put together and get all the kinks and the bugs worked out between us, the ACF, and PSI. But everything was good, went off without a hitch. So anybody that's looking to take their written, we can do that. We can do that part for you down at the CTC. So if you're interested in taking any of the certification tests, we can do that down at the CTC, no problem. Just, give us a heads up that you're going to go ahead and register and everything, and then we'll make sure that we have everything set up for you down there. So right now, the summer hours for that are from 9 to 2, Monday through Friday. And once school starts in September, we'll be back to our Monday only days, and that'll be from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Okay, so that's what we'll have. It takes about, for most of the tests, it's about 90 minutes. It says once you start the test, there's a timer on your screen. You have 90 minutes to do it. Okay, so and normally it's around 100 questions.
Awesome.
Jared did pass. He is officially a CSC.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just processing his last part that he had to do. They had to have a couple more papers signed and sent in, but everything's done. They're just waiting now for yeah, I got to have the money. They'll get that, and once they get that, I'm sure they'll have his certificates and everything sent. And I think he has me sending it to his house for right now until he gets his apartment and everything up there in Connecticut. So he'll be back down, obviously, to grab those goodies.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Brian, did you have anything to add there for the apprentices? Okay, thank you. I know we're circled back.
No, just that Caitlin's on. So we do have one apprentice with us.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us, Caitlin. Okay, Michael, you're up next with certification. I know you're on here. See if you're available and able to unmute. Are you in a hotel room?
No, I'm home. I'll even turn my video on.
Whoa, good to see you.
What's that?
Do we have to see you?
That's me, Johnny.
Do we have to see you?
You don't have to. Look the other way.
We're looking. All right.
Look the other way. Anyway, lots of stuff going on. Certification. I wish I had something to report. I really don't. I know that we want to do some things, and I know that we've got an open location in Lebanon, but we just don't have candidates, and I still do not know when or how we will deal with this as we continue to progress if people don't wear their masks and we don't get a vaccine. So the written is open, as Bobby had said, and I would encourage as many as possible to try to get that out of the way if they're looking at certification in the near future.
Thank you, Chef.
Chef Michael, I have a question.
Please.
Do you, for us to do the ACE work, and I know we're not allowed to use that anymore, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Right.
That we do. What will be the how are we going to re-up or we've gone over a year now without having something. I just don't want to lose my certification without. And maybe I missed something. I don't know. I hope I didn't. But is there a training like they do that used to do a yearly training for us? I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes. Chaz, I would say that we'll probably get some sort of extension or exception based on the pandemic issues. And if not, then I will certainly advocate on the behalf of all of us and those others outside the chapter in order for us to continue, because opportunities don't exist. So there's no way you can really meet your 1 or 2 requirements on a regular basis, on an annual basis. So
all right, I just want to know if I need to, because there was 5, 7, 8 different ones that I was going to do that have gone by the wayside because of the virus. So.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Chaz, but I will certainly make the appropriate level of noise, as Brian will attest to, in order to get what we need to ensure that we can continue to do what it is that we do very, very well here.
Great. Thank you.
How we do it the best, because we're the best. Nothing, Coral? Did you even see that?
Yeah.
It's my best.
Your best.
It's my very best.
Okay.
What else can I contribute this afternoon, Autumn?
Anything from the blood bank while I have you?
I did not call on the blood bank. I was traveling most of the day today, so apologies. I'll try to get something for the next newsletter.
No problem. Just thought while I had you in case I lost you.
Okay.
Yep. All right. I'm going to move on to accreditation, which is Brian, but then we can circle back, Michael, if you have something yet too. Right. Oh, before. So last meeting, The very next day was going to be your reaccreditation walkthrough site visit. Micah was preparing, he showed his mask, you guys talked about this new hybrid method. So you went through it and
we got a 5-year grant, Bob and I, with our secondary program, and we got exemplary status. So we joined the ranks of Dauphin County.
Awesome,
So,
congratulations.
So we, just to let the chapter know, Bob and I, this was our 4th reaccreditation, and we have never in the history of getting accredited through the ACF ever had a non-compliance. So that's the secondary program. We are working on the reaccreditation for the apprenticeship program. That is only due next year, but we try to do them together. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, that went by the wayside, as well as the apprentices being furloughed. They have to be in active status in order for them to do the site visit. So, and on top of that, the national office decided to change the entire way an apprenticeship is being done. So all of our paperwork that we had done had to be thrown away, and Chef Cora and I had to start all over again. And Autumn, I know you as a program coordinator can feel the pain on that tremendously. So just to let you know how it is color coded now, light green or green is secondary, blue is apprenticeship, and red is post-secondary. So that's how it'll come across. And they are very intense. They have really upped the ante, and they're all very equivalent. So whether you're doing a post-secondary or secondary, they are pretty much identical, with the exception of the volume, and apprenticeship is now the same way as well. A lot of legal documentation, and the national office is still trying to figure out how to send us documents that actually you can type on. So we get a lot of documents that look pretty, but when you try to type on them, it goes into some hieroglyphics and wingdings and all that other stuff, because it is not a formatted document. So we've been dealing with that, and customer service in that area lacks tremendously, and I'll just leave it at that.
There is one saving grace though down there, and that's
Kiwi. Kiwi.
Anybody, you have a question about
kept trying
anything,
to say Kiwi. I kept saying she was with yeah, so good. I wanted to make sure you connected with her, because she was
not to be confused with Pee-wee. That's a different Herman. But Kiwi, K-I-V-I, rock star. If you need something, ask for her. If she doesn't know it and it's not her department, she'll get you the answer.
That's right.
So she helped
Jared.
Grace.
She got Jared questions within the day. So she is on it.
Yes, may I take a minute?
Please.
Yeah.
So I sit on the ACF National Certification Commission. Chef, to the question the chef was asking earlier, I don't want to speak for the ACF, so don't quote me on this. But I'm sure that there was some discussion at the last commission meeting about keeping all the evaluators certification and so on. So I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of contingency plan for those chefs that might not be able to evaluate some tests because there's no tests happening. So don't quote me on it, because I don't want to speak on behalf of ACF, but Evie will have the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the commission is going to take that into consideration. So
one of the other thing that came out of that, chef, that I want to piggyback on that you guys approved, and that's secondary certifications. They extended the certifications.
Right.
So chef, do you want to speak on that? Do you remember what they said about that? The CFC and the CFPC. You weren't part of that?
Before that was discussed at the last meeting before I joined the commission. Chef.
Okay. All right.
So I'm still trying to catch up on that.
What they're doing is they're extending the certification and they're extending membership. So certification for high schoolers is extended. So Claire, our students have 3 years, and then they get another 2 years of membership. So even if they have a gap and a separation between going on to post-secondary or into employment, there is cover for them, so they can continue on with their certification without losing it. Okay?
great. Thank you. Anything else on the accreditation front? Okay. I do not think Bob is on. I believe we have one Bob Roebuck is who I'm looking for. I think we had one phone number on here. I'm going to try it anyways. Chef Roebuck, is that you by chance? Okay, I'm going to assume no. All right. Just in case, but I don't know. I'm not sure who that is on the phone. So
I think he's on vacation.
okay. All right, great. Well, Chef, I did want to circle back with community outreach. In any event, with Chef Geip, I know you're going to speak for Heidi Howard as far as the update on the PRLA. Or updates you might have as far as the Shalom House or the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank.
Jazz, before you get started, I just want to wish everybody a good night. It's been a very long day, so I'm going to bow out and then catch up with everybody a little bit later. But I wish you all a good evening. Thank you.
Hey, before you bow out,
what?
Talk about the food bank, because you know more than I do.
Well, that's not very much, because I've not really been in touch with anybody. I was under the impression they're still looking for volunteers.
They are.
I can make some phone calls tomorrow and get something to Autumn to send out an update.
But at our last meeting, Chef Roebuck had piped in saying that they had to stop getting any volunteers. They only go within the agency. So I did withdraw that from our newsletter, that link to volunteering.
Okay, let me write a quick reminder to give them a call tomorrow to see what's going on and see if they're taking volunteers. But I will put a plug in for the blood bank if anybody has been able to donate or has the opportunity to donate. You do need to call and make an appointment. I called a couple of days before I was ready to re-up, and it still took me another 2 weeks to get in. So they're taking appointments very sparsely.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chef.
All right. Good night, everyone, and thank you. And I'm so glad to see so many attended. I sure would love some more, but Zooms are not as exciting as being in person.
But I build up the excitement in the emails. Didn't you guys see the from interest? And
I've been on the edge of my seat all day.
But there is a mute button. Remember that.
Goodbye.
That's a plus.
Goodbye.
Good night, Chef.
Night.
Okay, so back to Chef Geip. Any updates? Well, let's start with the PRLA if we could, please. And what Heidi.
Okay. So the PA flavors that was originally on April the 18th, then we were scheduled for August the 22nd, has now been rebooked for April the 24th of 2021. So in other words, we are not having it this year, although it's pretty amazing. Out of 360 tickets that were sold, they've only had to refund 30 tickets. So that's pretty cool. And a lot of people are looking forward to it. There hasn't been any backlash at all from people wanting their money back, so which is awesome. The golf outing.
Chef, if I could interrupt you real quick before you get to the golf outing. Vendors, or not vendors, the restaurants and those of us that signed up said there's nothing we need to do if we're committed to next year, correct?
Nope. And I might, Richard, if you know anything different than that, that's what I understood. And once again, they're gonna circle the wagons and get the committee together and brainstorm it just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Obviously, closer to time. So, all right. So the golf outing, we're still on at this point for the 3rd October, the 3rd Monday in October, like we always have it. And I think 2 or 3 weeks down the road here, when we have our next meeting, things might change. Mostly if Dauphin County goes back into the evil red, that's going to make a huge difference. Because if you do the time period by date, it's going to be really close if they go back into red. So I'm kind of concerned with that. And actually, so is the whole committee. But right now, we're still good. And as soon as they pull the plug on that, like I called you, Autumn, as soon as we knew that the other thing was going away, then I'll let you know if they choose to change their mind. And
thank you.
Shalom House. We're still working with them. They have the new place on 15th Street, 15th and Market, the old church. They have renovated a part of the building, the first floor, And now they're working on adopting, actually putting a catering kitchen in the back to act as a fundraising thing for them. But obviously this, the restrictions that have been put on them, it's kind of foolish to dump a lot of money in that until we find out what's going on. So they still have the food truck, although with the opportunities of the food truck, you know, they couldn't use that. But they did reopen. They run the cafeteria at the Dauphin County Courthouse, and that's been up and running now, maybe the third week. They've been together. It's like essential people only. They're not, court is not back in session yet. That's forthcoming if they don't go into red again, or into a modified yellow. So they do have some income, but great organization. Hopefully when all this stuff goes away, there's 4 or 5 projects that I would really like to see us get involved with, and maybe start a committee to help them. I can't think of a better. It's a women's shelter, and they help people in central Pennsylvania, but the majority of folks are right here in Harrisburg. So it's a great organization. They do great work, and the only reason that they're doing what they're doing right now is because they lost their funding. And not, when I say lost, I mean it was a I don't know, a 10 or 15 year a stipend given out of will that they literally ran on for all that time, and now they have to create their own money. So
Thank you, Chef. I did have a question on the golf outing. What kind of response did you get to the email asking for everyone to respond to you committing to their time? Let's say that the PRLA says, yes, we're a go tomorrow. How many chefs do you have helping you?
2, and me.
Okay.
And Roebuck, I figured he was going to show up. So. and
Okay.
Once again, I'm sure if you don't, if it's not written in stone, and I think when it comes to time, and I think time is going to be next month. If we don't, if they go next month, the only thing that's going to pull that plug is if they go to red, or back into yellow. And I think we might even be able to pull it off if we don't have so many golfers. So, and there's all kind of, we've talked about different scenarios and how we can make it work. And if they do pull the plug on it, if anybody's worried about our insurance, I pitched a couple different things. Doing chef's tables in some of our history donors. Chef Reese and I go out and do our thing for a couple of different folks, and we could bring in some cash, to make sure that insurance money is paid for, and also help the PRLA at the same time.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And I agree. I think a lot of us will step up once we know if it's a definite, we'll be there. And so I'll look for any updates you have, and then I'll be able to send that out to the chapter. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really hard to say yes to something if it's not real. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And you don't have a clue if, and we know what the date is. I mean, we're kind of locked into that just because that's the only day that they have open at this point. They have a ton of things scheduled, except for now they just need the freedom to open it. So.
Right. So my concern is with now this, because I know that meeting was before the 25-person count for indoor activities. I wonder if that'll change the tone of it, a little bit, because
guess where we're eating? Outside.
Right. And that's where I know it's just a matter of being creative and what we can do and what we can prepare, and yeah. So I know that was someone had mentioned, can we do a dinner to go box, and that was something I thought of. I know there's a lot of minds at work in that meeting to figure out how they can pull it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll look for that update. Great. Thank you so much, Chef. Okay, any other, I have the American Culinary Federation, again, with Bob not being here, just as a reminder that dinner is still a go in Nashville. It is the 65th anniversary, and so those patches are being sold with 20% of the proceeds going to the Fernandez Mets Relief Fund, just as a reminder. And I know in our newsletter we have all of the updates we've been receiving monthly from Bob. Does anybody else have any updates from the American Academy of Chefs?
No, although I think we are having a meeting, just like you're going to have the president's meeting, the board of governors. We are having an academy meeting during the virtual conference. So I'm sure if Bob's not on it, I hope I can get Bob on a computer so he can watch it instead of listen to it on his phone, because I think he misses half of everything that's said. So we'll get it together, and the AC, the academy members that we have, maybe we should all join in just to see what's going on. This being new, they've never done an academy Zoom before, so I can imagine it would be really fun.
It's all fun.
Oh, no.
All this technology is fantastic. Okay. Moving on to old business, then we had mentioned the blood bank. The August meeting I mentioned is going to be via Zoom. Any other old business anyone has to contribute? This is me scanning for anyone jumping. No? Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to new business. I have a couple things before we open the floor here. There was an email I sent out about the internal audit committee chair as well as the ethics committee chair. These ballots are due here in the next few, well, in the next week and a half, by the end of the month. So I do plan on submitting our ballot tomorrow, but I did want to open it up to the chapter to see if anybody had any feedback, wanted to put a plug in for someone's name, any response anybody had. I feel, well, I know I am representing a chapter, which is not just me. So I want to make sure what your thoughts are. Thank you to Chef Geip. I know you had kind of cast your vote there. Does anybody else have any commentary, anything they'd like to add for the decision of who the committee chair ballots will be voted for? And feel free to email me. I'm not looking to take a vote on the different names, but if you would like to, I plan on submitting that ballot. I will give it until Wednesday. So my email with here's the recording of this video. I will also give it one more time. Here's the links. If anyone else would like to weigh in on the vote, please communicate by Wednesday. I don't, go ahead.
Will you let us know who you're voting for?
Sure.
Or we're voting for? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And that's why I'm looking to hear. So I thank you, Chef. You were the one and only that responded. So I appreciate that. And if anybody else has some, like I said, some feedback to provide, I would like to represent our chapter and not just a few opinions there. All right. The other thing, seeing again, nobody jumping in on that. And I think the email, that way you can give your thoughts there if you'd like to. The other topic I wanted to bring up for new business was our meeting collaborations. Again, it was part of the Northeast Regional Conference call. A lot of the chapter presidents that were on there were talking of how they tried to have the Zoom meetings and they're low attended. And I got to be honest, this one is our lowest attended with 22, well, it was a total of 25 participants. Typically we're in the 40 range. However, I feel everyone that's on here is participating, engaged, you know, and those that are missing it are looking to watch those videos. They are actually getting viewed on YouTube. They're long, so I'm sure it's not someone just perusing randomly. You know, so the idea that we're engaged and others are looking, how do they get their members engaged? And other than, I think us just having a very strong membership that all want to do stuff and are involved in things, I think it's just a matter of me, like I said, that interest. I know you all zoomed in tonight to find out how much interest we were getting. But, you know, trying to get a couple little things in there to grab attention. I want to know what your thoughts are. The other part of the conversation was on webinars. And I agree. When we had Susan Notter doing a couple of those, I think in October when she does a candy presentation, absolutely open it up and, you know, anybody can join in on these webinars. But what do you feel about our individual chapter meetings? We do talk about our finances and what we're doing. I'm proud of what we're doing and we invite everyone, but I'd like to have a discussion before, again, we open it up nationally to everyone. Please join in on our meeting. Chef Geip, I see you unmuted. Did you have something?
Yeah, I do. Once again, you know, there's no secrets should be held in this forum, period. I mean, we started this organization with that up front. We're here to teach people. We're here to help people. We're here for any age group, you know, race, creed, whatever. Why would we not open it up? You know,
Right.
we've come a long way from where we started. What's it, 25 years now? Once again, I had a little bit of hair, not a lot back then, but I mean, it's been a while, you know, and the opportunity for us to, we don't blow our own horn enough. I think maybe we should, you know what I mean? We've had national winners, we've had national committee chairs, national committee people. You know, we should be stepping up and doing some stuff, you know, and some of the things that we do is amazing. And if you ask most of the presidents that are in touch with ACF and are doing Zooms and the other 17 other meeting places that I have on my phone now, interacting with people, you know, they know Harrisburg, PA 181. Why? Because, you know, everything that we have on our website is amazing. You know, they can go and steal stuff. You know, why reinvent the wheel? You know what I mean? It's there. Use it. You know, so why would we not open up our thing? And once again, our financials. You know, you know, some of the chapters have what I call old sacred money. You know, and they have, you know, they have a box that's buried out behind, you know, the one church in a you know, a graveyard someplace that has $100,000 in it. You know what I mean? Once again, what we used to call the old boys club. That's why we're Harrisburg chapter 181 and not Central Pennsylvania chapter, where some of us have come from. You know, and that was an all boys club. You know, as past president of that, as past chef of the year of that. Used to be proud of that. Now no longer. You know, I think we're definitely doing things the right way, and I think we need to share that with anybody who's willing to learn.
Yeah, Chef, I'll echo that, because I'll go back to 2010 when we hosted the Northeast Regional Conference and what we pulled off with our little chapter. You know, we wound up setting the benchmark, I think, for a lot of the future events for the ACF. You know, even some of the stuff they still do today is from what we did back in 2010. And you think about it, we were stretched from Lebanon all the way up into Harrisburg, you know, holding that event and coordinating and having buses take people everywhere. Everything that we did just led to the new ideas that the ACF started using and saw how things should have been done all along, you know, because they were having issues. And I think, you know, as we open everything up to everybody, like I said, we have nothing to hide. There's nothing here except what we've been doing all along. And that's, again, being a great educational forum for young culinarians and getting the next generation ready to go, which is important. So I don't see any issues whatsoever of having it open up, you know, and it's not, you know, what's money, you know, and it comes and goes, right? That's all there is to it. So I don't think we need to be ashamed about that in any way, shape, or form.
And I fully agree. I just want to make sure if there was any disapproval or disagreeing of this. So I'm trying to brainstorm and play that devil's advocate of why would someone not be okay with us opening this up? I saw a couple other hands up. I'm not sure if that was just a fluke or if we really want to say something. Free to unmute yourself. If you did. It looked like maybe Doogie, Chef Fernando. Okay. So does anybody else have any negative reasons?
Chef, that was from earlier, but
okay, sorry.
Maybe I should have asked if you wanted me to leave when you discussed the opening, but I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I think it's great. I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and I mean that. So thank you for having me. I think you guys are doing a great job with these.
And
So
I was going to say, while we have you, could I get your feedback? I mean, you just joined our meeting for the first time tonight. Do you think this is beneficial for everyone? I mean, the education and how we structured it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's extremely beneficial. I'm a big, been in ACF for about 15 years now. Been in boards at a couple different chapters, And I think what you guys are doing is great. I think opening up, being able, especially now in this time, being able to have a meeting, being able to have continue to offer education, continue to offer something of benefit and something of value for your membership is great. I think a lot of chapters are struggling with that right now. But I also think that just the fact that you are open and welcoming and so on, I think that speaks volumes for that. And I think this is what's going to get those young members to stay involved, those other people who might not know ACF to become members, right? So I think the sky's the limit with this type of virtual meetings.
Great, thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you again for.
Thank you.
And even when we're no longer virtual, our meetings, Chef, just so you know, have always been open to everybody. You don't have to be a member to be welcome to our table. And we always have in the past. We've never charged for a meeting. We always provide a meal. So you always get knowledge for your brain, food for your stomach, and hopefully you live a little bit lighter soul in your step. So that's kind of our basic motto, and it's been that way for ever since the conception of it.
No, I appreciate it. I was kidding when I said maybe I should have left the room, but no, I mean, I've known for, like I said, many of you, many of you before. I know, I hear a lot from about Chef Pelfley, for Chef Young a lot. All good things, by the way.
I'll send him a check. I'll send him a check.
18 bucks.
No, but I think what you guys are doing is great, and I think it's awesome that you're able to provide education for. I really enjoyed it today, so I appreciate that. I'm sure I'll see you the next time you have one of these. So
please do.
Thanks, Chef.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? I guess more so any reasons as to why we should not? I don't feel this needs an official vote. I just want to hear any concerns if anyone has.
Keep going.
Okay. All right, cool. Then I'm done. Other than our next meeting, and if there's any other new business as well.
Yeah, I have something. I just got this Friday from one of our recent graduates, Alina Jenkins, who just graduated here this year, and she just her comment on the email was hard work pays off, and I have to stress this to any students that are listening. It's very important when scholarships come your way and they're offered to you to help you with your career and your education. You just have to take the time and put it in and fill those things out. And a lot of times they can become tedious and they can become long and so forth. But if you just put the time in, you do everything right, you're going to get rewarded in the end. And she was notified on Friday by the National Restaurant Association Education Foundation that she received a $5,000 scholarship. So she's got that one from the Pennsylvania and now from the national. This is all going to go towards her education next month, Lord willing, starting up at Penn College.
Wow, definitely huge congratulations to her. That's exciting. $5,000. Not that 1,000 isn't great, mind you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chef. Did you have something to add for new business?
The only thing I have is when we did the accreditation commission, I got an email from National Restaurant Association from ProStart, the director at the national office, and I was invited to be part of a Q&A discussion panel, and that webinar will be next week. It'll be the 29th. So when I get the link to that, I'll send that out to all of you, but I'm on the Q&A panel. And I am basically asking to make sure it's okay. I'm planning on sharing our link to our website, which has all of our information. As well, Chef Reese, I'm hoping to use you as well on my presentation about the visual cooking demonstrations, because there are a lot of educators out there that don't have the resources to be able to put together videos and things like that. And like I've always said, is why reinvent something that there's something already good out there. So I hope to use the chapter's gallery of videos and share with that as a resource so that educators from across the country know that that's available to them. Obviously sharing my YouTube channel, which I'm working on building and adding more. Chef Reese has a ton of great videos out there that cover a gambit of culinary things. So I'm just going to add them in my presentation and make sure that they are aware of those resources that are free. Also going to talk a little bit about Penn State Cooperative Extension Office and the great opportunities that are in there. And they may want to look at their extension offices in their own state and those opportunities as well. And to be aware of, you know, Serve Success is available, Career Safe is available as well. Those are for pay, but every once in a while they do open up the windows and some of these things become free. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I do have a feeling that we are going to be going virtual again in the fall. Whether we'll start that way or not, I'm not exactly sure, but my gut tells me that we will be going to a virtual setting again in the near future. So I just want to be prepared for that. And I appreciate everybody out there that puts anything out there. I know Chef Herentz put out a video as well on the grill. So all those things are great opportunities for students to see a different face, because they're going to be in a virtual setting and listening to, you know, an educator like myself or Chef Daco or Chef Coral. You know, it's nice to see somebody else's face, and they may say exactly the same thing we say, but it's just a different face to have those resources. So I appreciate everything that you're doing, and Chef Patty, you're doing a fantastic job in these dire situations. And alumni from HAC, I can't thank you enough for all the effort and time to really put together a new grassroots approach. And we definitely need this more so than ever, is this young blood infusion into our chapter, as well as we hope that that is encouraged into the national office. We hope that that nationally feeds through, and that's why it's so important for your voice to be heard in these meetings, because you are the driving force and the future of our chapter.
Thank you, Chef. And it's interesting in this, and I like the pictures that Anna included in the slideshow, because so many of those students are now members once they've graduated. Julie was there, Donald was there, Terry. I mean, there were so many students that have now graduated and are still members, which seems to be an area we struggle. How to keep students engaged, and, you know, regardless of whether they move or not, to still be part of this. So I was glad to hear that. And
well, and you keep it going by doing this, because like Barb Byram is all the way across on the other side of the country, and she still can be a part of us. So, you know, even though we may go back to a normal meeting, I still think we should hang on to the virtual opportunity for those that are unable to attend for health reasons or distance reasons. You know, we still can really expand our breadth of our chapter besides the central Pennsylvania area. We can really stretch down to Alabama, where Susan is, and all the way out to Oregon, where Barb is. So, you know, and I think that's really appropriate that we continue to embrace this technology, because I know that they do appreciate that connection. And now more so than ever, to have this connection is really critical.
absolutely. And I do plan to include Zoom, but for the record, I will need someone's help. I cannot run the meeting and the electronics. Anything with technology would be great to have someone.
I think Anna just raised her hand. I saw her raise her
I
hand.
have a lot
Even
of
though she was
people's
playing with her
hands
hair, that counts as a hand raise.
agree.
That's why you sit on your hands.
The online classes I'm teaching this semester, one of them is on purchasing. And I used the exact sirloin tutorial that Michael put together. He's not on, so I'm not tooting his horn. You know, I used that exact project, and I, you know, maybe only took a couple parts of the actual calculations, but that video, and then I just sent out a refresher for here's what you're doing in lab. Chef, I included your pat a shoe, your cake decorating. You know, there was several different videos from our chapter members that all filtered into one email.
And I'm going to be stealing yours as well. When the new school year starts up, when we
do.
go into foundations, and I'm looking at yours, all the business stuff, we're going to be pulling that as well. And that's
there's
what's
so
great.
much to add. There is so much to add. So I'm going to make sure by next week I update, because Anna and I have a lot more on our spreadsheet. So I'll update.
That'd be great.
Meeting.
Like I said, I will.
29th.
That will be a mention about that, and make sure I'll shout out to the chapter and Anna, you as well, for putting all the time and energy into that.
Awesome.
I do have a quick question. Is there anything that you've noticed that you want to see more of?
I do. The baking and pastry aspect, because creams and custards have a creme anglaise in it. So like I have now a creme brulee and some other things, but it's very, we started hard on the culinary because that seemed to be what everybody needed immediately. But now going through the baking and pastry aspect, I think we're definitely lacking in there. Maybe some of the more specialized meats too. I know veal cookery, I just looked up a couple to add. But definitely the baking and pastry area, I feel like can have a whole lot more added to that. Yes.
Working on it.
Good jump. I was prepared for that question.
Yeah.
Because every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, we need some more. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Anna. Anyone else? Anything for new business?
I have a question for Chef Puffley and Chef Coral for the apprentices.
Can't hear you, Doogie.
A question about the apprentices. What's the possibility of them doing a chef table catering area at the park in order to assist them with getting work hours?
That would be, we have to talk with Chef Arnold.
Yeah.
It's an HR thing.
Let me tell you one thing, union.
Yeah, well, Chef.
One word.
Union is now working in the park from all of the properties.
That's what I heard.
Yep.
That's true. I'm working with them.
Yep. Yeah, Bob and I have taken a step out of that because anything with school related we can handle, but anything that's on property is handled by the chefs. So Doogie, I would reach out to Chef Arnold and Chef Bart, and they will, talk to you about that. You know what I mean?
Okay. That would help.
It was brought up. I will tell you that the discussion was brought up at the last apprentice meeting, and that's when Bob and I went, "We're out of that. We're not touching that."
Yeah. Well, Doogie, that would, Chef Arnold and I talked today, and that was his concern of, the kids getting their hours, and and it depends on what you would have them doing. So if it's something that they're doing from start to finish, if they have to create menus, all that stuff, that can definitely go towards some of their hours that they need. So, that would be definitely something, if that's the case, definitely reach out to Bart and Chef Arnold and see what they have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it from a couple of point of views. I mean, obviously we're having issues with labor, not enough service, and the catering areas are all shut down. So they would have full use of that kitchen. We could create it like a concession stand, theoretically, some sort of a buffet, grab a plate, go through, pay a fee. So, and then they could create whatever they would want. We can advertise it for them. So I'll find out. I'll work on it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any new business? Last thing I had was, well, if anyone's looking for their unmute button, was again, just a reminder that August 17th we'll be meeting via Zoom, and I'll get information out, as well as check out the ACF virtual convention, register for free. There's a lot of great resources. Keep looking for my emails. I think that's the best to communicate as things come up and not necessarily wait for our monthly meetings. So I know Chef Geip will be in touch if we know anything more about the golf outing. And again, we'll just keep pummeling forward. I do want to get this newsletter out much earlier. I'm doing the best I can, is all I can say. I am working around the clock.
You're doing fantastic. Fantastic, Autumn. You're doing incredible.
I appreciate it. Anybody has for the good of the meeting?
Move we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
I missed the second. I think it was Peffley. It was so quick. So quick. All right. All those in favor of the meeting, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Have a great evening, everyone. I will send this recording out shortly for you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.